sat on the basketball court bleachers, forcing myself not to pull at the little skirt that barely covered my butt. I was going to lose my nerves. What I was attempting was so far past crazy. I began to seriously doubt myself. Oh goodness. If I was caught, my nana would never see me again. My death would probably be bloody and painful. I couldn't do this. What was wrong with me? I was getting ready to get myself killed. I stood clutching my book bag to my chest, which had enough rock cocaine in it to get me sent to prison for a long time. But then a memory surfaced of my big brother by 1 year man. He was smiling down at me as he snuck me one of my nana's honey buns that was stashed up high in her closet. She thought we didn't know about them. She busted us, and he took all the blame. Boy, Nana tore him up that night. I eased back down on the bleachers, remembering now why I was doing this. My brother was dead, murdered, and the man responsible was down there standing on the sideline, larger than life, watching his younger brother play in a 4-on-4 hood tournament. Although this event was big in the hood, and Rashid, his younger brother, was something of a hood legend, being that he was the biggest, most violent drug dealer this side of town. The groupies, they weren't here to see Rashid. No, they were here to see Kaleb. You see, if Rashid was prince around these parts, then Kaleb was king, who, rumor had it, was not only the power behind Rashid, but also had his hands in everything from prime real estate to being the money behind several big-name record labels here in the shop. But what he was known for was the King and Sons classic car restoration shop. The story goes, their father, whose name was King, was this big-time drug dealer in his day. And to hide all the money he had coming in, he opened a classic car restoration shop in downtown Chicago. Anyway, the shop gets so big, it's said that it's bringing in just as much money, if not more, than his dope empire. Needless to say, King did well with the business. Now, Kaleb, however, has taken it to a whole nother level. The shop had become the place to take your classic car amongst our people. And not just hood rich folks either. Big time rappers have shot their music videos at the shop. They rapped about driving their fresh whip off the lot. Hell, even the mayor joked about having to leave a press conference early because he was going to pick up his 69 Cutlass that had been restored at the King and Son. They say the waiting list is like 8 years out to even get a quote. Yeah, the women were not here, not like this, to see Rashid. He was a regular on the block. His older brother was not. So whenever Kaleb was spotted in the neighborhood, folks surrounded him as if he was truly the king. And tonight, there was going to be a party at his place. So yeah, the chickens were out. I looked around at all the women who were here dressed like I was, hoping to be picked by one of the party promoters, who, believe it or not, was moving around the park handing out invitations to certain girls. Certain girls that looked like they were down for whatever. Pretty girls, scantily dressed girls. And they were cheesing and smiling as if they had just won the damn lottery. Silly women. I, on the other hand, was dressed like a whore because I was getting ready to bring down the untouchable. And trust me, being dressed in a miniskirt that left most of my legs and thighs exposed, and a crop top that exposed my stomach and hung low on one side exposing my shoulder, was not easy. And to top it all off, I was not wearing a bra. I let my long locks fall to cover the side of my face. I'm not gonna lie, I was hiding behind them, letting my body do all the work for me. And hell yeah, I was ashamed that I was using my body this way. I could only imagine what my Nana or my big sister Stormy would say if they saw me dressed this way. Come on, Mom. Remember, you just playing a part. This is not real. It's acting, I told myself. And like Madam Queen, the woman who had been my acting coach for the last 10 years, had always said, to convince the world that you are a certain character, you must first convince yourself. Today, I was not Monica. Today, I was Toya, Hoochie Mama extraordinaire, a gold digger whose every dream would come true if only Kaleb, drug lord Kingpin, would just choose me to come to his big party tonight. And as I watched his goons continue to move around the crowd, giving exclusive invites, I almost threw up in my mouth. Seriously. You see, I just wanted this to be over. I had to get revenge for my brother. I could not let his death go without somebody paying for it. Then I felt like I could have peace. Then I could focus on graduating high school in a few months and then on to Juilliard. I had been accepted there on a dance scholarship. My Nana was sad that I would be leaving and going to New York, but she was thrilled about me being accepted at Juilliard. She herself having been one of the first black women to dance on Broadway, behind the late, great Mrs. Janet Collins, of course, who had in fact been the very first black prima ballerina of the Metropolitan Opera House. Her and my Nana, they were my role models. You see, I too wanted to dance on Broadway. Ever since I was a little girl, it had been my dream. Before Man got turned out to the streets, he would help me practice by lifting me high in the air, twirling me around in my little tutu. I had hoped that he would one day come back to us, that he would turn back into the man that me and Nana loved, instead of this gangster he was so determined to be. I used to tell Nana it was just a phase and he would snap out of it and be normal again. But he never will. He never will do anything else because he was dead. I angrily wiped away tears that had begun to well up in my eyes. No, I will not cry. I will not. Instead, I will get revenge for my brother. And then I will leave town and become a prima ballerina like my grandmother. I look back down at the man who was responsible for the death of my brother, and pure hate shot through my veins. He had messed with the wrong girl's brother, and if it was the last thing I do, tonight he was going to pay for it. However, later that night, I found myself in just a bit of trouble. Everything had gone so smoothly at first. While most of the girls at the park had been loud and obnoxious to get noticed, I had taken a different approach for two reasons. First and foremost, I was terrified and ashamed of showing off so much of my body. The last thing I wanted to do was to draw too many eyes. I just needed to draw the right eyes, those that mattered, Kaleb's goons. The second reason was something Madam Queen had always told me. Darling, you don't have to be loud to be noticed. In fact, use your body language to speak. Speak with the arch in your back, the curve of your hand, the grace of your step, the swan-like dip in your neck. Let your grace speak for you. It is far more noticeable than any voice could ever be. And so I did. I sat there reading a book, not speaking to anyone. Every now and again, I would flip my hair. And when I reached for my water bottle next to me to take a sip, I curved my palms so that my long, slender fingers gracefully lifted the bottle to my lips. When I drank, I sat straight up with just a slight arch in my back. I elongated my neck as the cool water ran down my throat. And then, when I was done, I licked my lips. Seconds later, I had my invite. I was handed a card with the address to Kaleb's Gold Coast penthouse condo by some guy that was real proud of his looks. I know this because every now and again, he would stop and take a selfie of himself talking to someone or shaking their hand or anything. And he was proud of his car. He made sure everybody knew he was driving the candy red Lexus. Every now and again, he would point his keys toward it and click a button to start it up. You know, you got to keep the air conditioning blowing, you know what I'm saying? He would say to whoever was standing by him, before laughing and looking around the park, probably trying to make sure everybody was watching him. Anyway, the clown handed me the card and instructed me to give it to the guards in the downstairs lobby of Kaleb's condo. "You need a ride, boo?" he asked. I flinched. No, I can get there. Thank you, though, for the invite." As he made his way back down the bleachers, I breathed a sigh of relief. Now that I was in, my plan was to fade to the background while I tried to find a place to plant the drugs. And I know you're wondering about the drugs. To make a long story short, I found them in my brother's room. And I know my brother sold this crap for Rashid and Kaleb. So I figure I would just return their product and just maybe make an anonymous call to the police saying that a white woman was about to be murdered by a group of black thugs, while at the same time making sure the drugs were somewhere that the police could see. Now, I know the white woman part is low, but hey, it would get the results I needed for this to go off as planned. So when I got to the penthouse, I was pleased to see that the place was packed, which was perfect. I found a seat in a dark corner where I could go unnoticed while I stopped to join out a bit. Kaleb's penthouse was huge. I mean, life of the rich and famous huge. I sat in what I assumed was the parlor, which was good because it kept me close to the front door and it opened up into the rest of the condo, giving me a great view of the sunken living room. You had to walk down a few steps to go into it. Wait staff came in and out of the kitchen. There was a full bar and a DJ table. One whole side of his place was glass windows. Outside of them was a big pool area with an Olympic-sized pool. There was a full bar out there as well. The other women that had been invited was doing their jobs fabulously. They were all dressed in teeny dresses and high heels. I kind of felt underdressed myself because most of them had gone home and changed into something far more glamorous than what they had been wearing earlier at the park. I still wore the teeny jean skirt and the crop top that I was going to burn on my grill after tonight. Oh well, I wasn't here to be noticed at this point anyway. I heard a girl scream by the pool. Some guy had snatched off her bikini top and tossed her in the water. Oh my goodness. I held my breath, waiting for her to emerge from the water and yell, "Rape!" Except when she came up, it wasn't her bare breasts she was squealing about. No, it was her hair. Well, so, like I was saying, with all that kind of activity going on, who would pay attention to little old me in this dark corner, right? Right. Okay, so this is where things started going wrong. You see, I had planned on being out of this place by now, but neither Kaleb nor Rashid was here, and timing was everything. I needed to plant the drugs at the right time and make my call. Hopefully, when they find Man's drugs, they will go ahead and search the premises for more drugs. Now, granted, from what I've researched on Kaleb, he's nobody's dummy, so chances are he won't have any drugs here at his house. But I bet he had a gun or two somewhere. Plus, Man had enough dope to put anybody away for a good while. And I don't care how it happens. just as long as that bastard goes to jail. Him and his psychotic brother. The guy that had given me the invite sat down on the wide circular chair next to me. I had to force myself not to stiffen at his nearness. I was playing the role of a whore after all. The book reader, he said, leaning in close to me. He had so much cologne on, I almost choked. I smiled at him. Yep, I like to read, I told him, wishing he would just get up and leave me be. He held up his hand, and one of the serving girls came over carrying a tray with 2 shot glasses of alcohol on it. Oh crap. I was getting ready to panic. Thank you, baby, he said, as she put the glasses down on the table next to us. When she turned to leave, he smacked her on her butt. Goodness, what a savage. You drink tequila, boo? He turned to look at me while handing me one of the glasses. It's Patron, only the good stuff for the sexiest girl at the party. Everything in me screamed to say no, but I would draw too much attention to myself saying no to a drink. So, with a very forced smile on my face, I nodded. Yeah, I like Patron, I told him. He smiled before he turned his glass up and swallowed the contents in one swoop. Oh crap. I have never drunk a thing in my whole life. Oh crap. I am playing a part, I reminded myself. It's just a part. Okay, I can do this. I lifted the glass to my lips and I duplicated his action. And I almost died as the fiery liquid washed down my throat. I began to choke. It was taking everything within me to keep it down. Oh, goodness, it was horrible. I'm pretty sure I just drank rubbing alcohol. You okay, baby? The creep said, patting me on my back. I nodded. Yeah, I croaked. It's just been a long while since I drank. Girl, the way you took that, it looks like it's been never since you drank. He frowned at me. Even though it almost killed me, y'all, I forced myself to stop choking. The last thing I needed was for this guy to start asking questions. The less anybody knew about me here, the better. Tonight, I was supposed to be a phantom. The drink was beginning to warm me up on the inside. I took my foot and scooted my backpack underneath the chair out of sight. The alarm system was going off inside my head and I didn't know why. So, he said, putting his arm on the chair behind me. What's your name, boo? What is with this guy and the boo thing? I cleared my throat. Toya, I said, clearing my throat again. Something was wrong. I was beginning to feel warm on the inside and my throat felt scratchy. It was probably just a shot. I guess that's what it was supposed to do, right? I mean, why else would anybody drink such vile tasting stuff? Toya. That's a pretty name, just like you. He put his hand on my thigh, and for the 3rd time tonight, I almost threw up. Thank you, I said, turning to look around at the other partygoers. Please leave, I screamed in my head. I began to fan myself with my hand. Somebody must have turned on the heat because it was really getting hot in here. I was thinking, you know, me and you, we can get out of here, go for a little drive in my Lexus. He winked at me, and oh my goodness, I could not stop the laughter that erupted from my mouth. I don't know why, but that wink, coupled with his words, were hilarious. What's so funny, he asked. You, boo, I told him before I erupted in another fit of laughter. This dude was trash, and so was his game. Dad, was I drunk? Why did I just find that so funny? Was it possible to get drunk off one shot? Can you get drunk off one shot? I asked him. He smiled then, very wickedly. Yep, if it's liquid X. I frowned at him. Is that tequila? He shook his head. Nope. Those alarm bells were getting louder. What is it then? It's new. Just hit the streets. My eyes widened. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Don't worry, baby. It's just a little something to help you loosen up a bit. That's all. He opened his mouth to say something else to me, but right then the front door opened and Rashid walked in. Behind him was several guys that I had seen standing with Kaleb. Either they were his main boys or maybe even his bodyguards. And in behind them came Kaleb. My breath stalled in my throat. I don't know if it was because of the drugs or just the general impact of seeing this man up close for the first time. But it felt as if I had been sucker punched right in the stomach. You see, I had not gotten a good look at his face earlier. Oh my goodness, what a face! He was extremely good looking, in a very rugged kind of way. He was good looking without even trying. He wore his beard cut low, as if maybe he hadn't cut it in a few days. However, his fade looked fresh, as if it had been cut just today. He didn't have a friendly face. You know, the kind of face that welcomed people to approach you. His face said loud and clear, "Don't mess with me, 'cause I ain't in the mood." He frowned. In fact, he looked as if he was irritated with us all. That added to the fact that he was big, really big. He wore a button-up shirt with the top 3 buttons open that gave a sneak peek at the immense chest underneath it. The material hugged his arms just enough to see that they too were gigantic. He could probably snap me in half like a twig if he chose to. And him being dressed in all black, black jeans, black shirt, black gator boots, only added to the fear I was feeling right now. This fear, I couldn't blame on the dope. If anything, the drugs were probably keeping me from getting up and running for my life. I have a confession to make. You see, I may have a slight problem of getting an idea in my head and running with it before I could think it all the way through. My Nana and Stormy say my little condition was probably going to get me in trouble one day. And I think that today just may be that day. I am so stupid. Why did I just assume that Kaleb was going to be like Rashid? Yeah, Rashid scared a lot of people on the streets because he was a murdering thug. Him, though, I could handle. But this force that was his older brother was a different story altogether. He was dangerous. I felt way out of my element, you know what I mean? He was above anything I had ever encountered. Power and experience just seemed to radiate from him. Everybody felt it too. I could tell by the way they all stared at him with a look of awe on their face. And to top it all off, I had been drugged. Even as we were speaking, I was feeling and making changes to my body, or at least how I felt about my body. The shame I had felt earlier for exposing so much of my skin was gone. And although I know I was afraid right now, my brain wasn't sending the proper signals to my body like, "Run, fool!" "Welcome home, boss," the man who had been sitting on the couch next to me said, getting up to approach the group. His voice boomed over the music so that all of us that sat in the front parlor heard. "Jamie, I don't need you to welcome me to my own home." Kaleb spoke, sounding tired. His voice was deep and raspy. "Man, sit your goofy down," Rashid said, shoving Jamie in the head, causing a bunch of people to laugh. "Why you keep this chump around?" he asked his brother. Kaleb chuckled, shaking his head a bit. As the men passed me, I prayed to Stormy's God, Yah, that I went unnoticed. My heart was beating so loud in my ear, it was louder than the music. I wanted to fan myself because I was extremely hot now. I could feel beads of sweat pooling up on my temples, but I sat perfectly still as not to draw attention to myself. But right as he passed, Kaleb looked down at me. At first his eyes just seemed to skim over me, and I was just about to exhale when they flew back to me. Oh my goodness, he stopped dead in his tracks and turned to look at me fully. The heat had turned into an inferno. I was burning alive. Please, floor, just open and swallow me, this chair, and my brother's drugs through you. Thank you. I began to breathe heavily. At least it seemed like it to me. My chest rose and fell with each panicked breath I took. This was not the plan. This was not the plan. Hey, you that shorty with the book, he said, and a quiver went through me as his deep voice washed over me. I almost moaned. His voice felt so good. Oh, what in the world was happening to me? I just froze in fear. If Madam Queen could see me now, she would shake her head and say, well, you were born to be a dancer. This acting thing just comes in as a strong second to that. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I don't know if it was the drugs in my system or just the power that seemed to ooze from him, but I felt terrified. Having his full attention was like having the attention of an oncoming, speeding Mack truck. I bit my lip, more nervous than I've been in my life. His eyes lowered to my mouth. Oh, boss, she ain't nobody. I brought her here for me. This is what I have for you, Jamie said, turning to gesture toward two very voluptuous women dressed in brown bikinis that matched their brown, oiled-up bodies perfectly. Dad, they looked like 2 bars of chocolate. Rashid and the other men that came in with them, mouths fell open as the women approached Kaleb. They both wore inviting smiles on their faces as their hungry eyes took in all that was Kaleb. Kaleb looked at them for a minute. His eyes slowly traveled up their bodies and back down again. I eased my hand down on the side of the chair and pushed the bag back to the wall so that it could not be seen at all. My heart was racing so fast I was finding it hard to breathe. I needed to get away from this force that was Kaleb. I eased to my feet, and while everybody's attention was on the 2 chocolate drops, I would just ease myself out of this situation. With my head down, I quietly slipped away. I had taken 5, maybe 6 steps when I felt a strong, warm hand come around my waist and palm my flat, bare stomach. I closed my eyes as a feeling I had never felt before shot through me. What was happening? I think I was feeling pleasure. Pure, intense pleasure. How could this be? How could I feel pleasure for a man I hated, and I know I hated him? He pressed his front so close to my back I could feel the outline of his strong body. Where you going, shorty? I'm not finished talking to you. He spoke quietly, his lips brushing my ear as his deep voice and warm breath caressed my lobe. I closed my eyes and suppressed a moan that tried to escape my lips. It had to be the drugs. Oh no! That jerk slipped me a Mickey! My voice quivered as I spoke. I cleared my throat. I was just going to get some air, that's all, I told him. Good idea. Let's go together. He took my hand and he began to pull me across the huge parlor. With panicked eyes, I looked back at Jamie. I would rather deal with him and his buffoonery over this power force any day. Boss! Hey man, what's up? Jamie yelled after us. Kaleb came to a stop. As he inhaled, his nostrils flared and the muscle ticked in his cheek. He didn't turn around. He just stood there for a few seconds, breathing angrily while staring straight ahead. Right then, 2 of the big goons that had come in the door with him stood from where they had been sitting with the girl on their lap. Rashid, who had been whispering something in one of the chocolate drop's ear, stopped and approached Jamie. Man, what the hell you just say? He growled at Jamie, who now wore a look of complete terror on his face. Oh, nothing. I just wanted to tell the boss to enjoy my treat to him. Kaleb grunted, then continued walking. And I was doomed. He led me through the crowd and up the sleek stairs that sat in full view of everyone. I let my hair fall to cover my face, so embarrassed. Everyone was looking at us. Some of the women looked as if they wanted to claw my eyes out. I wanted to beg someone to take my place. Anybody, please. 2 big men with guns sat in the open space that was at the top of the stairs. "Boss," they said as we passed. Kaleb didn't speak. He just slightly nodded his head. We walked down a long, dark hallway, passing a few rooms, to a pair of wooden double doors at the end of it. He opened one and pulled me through. And yes, he was pulling me because I was dragging my feet. I should go back to the party," I told him, trying to pull my hand out of his. I couldn't even pretend that I was not afraid. And yet the drugs were making me feel something else. I was trying to fight them, but the feeling was getting stronger and stronger. "Nah, Ma, I ain't in the mood for all that out there. It's been a long week, and I just want to chill with you, okay?" I opened my mouth to say no, not okay. But then I got my first view of his room, and my words just seemed to die away. Just like the rest of his place, his bedroom was humongous and very masculine. On his big bed was a very plush-looking black comforter and matching pillows. All of the furniture was made of mahogany wood. His room smelled like him, a mix of spicy cologne and soap, and maybe even laundry detergent. He walked to a pair of glass double doors that were across the room and opened them to a beautiful, modest-sized balcony. "Wow," I said as I crossed the floor with feet that seemed to have a mind of their own. He had the most amazing view of Lake Michigan. "Best place to get some air." He spoke so closely to my ear I jumped. I did hear him come up behind me. I walked away from him to the rail and looked out across the dark lake. The gentle breeze felt so good blowing against my warm skin. I held my head back and let the wind blow my locks around my body and face. It felt amazing. I closed my eyes and moaned as the wind caressed my skin that seemed to be inflamed ever since Kaleb first looked at me. Giving in to the caress of the wind was all the drug needed to take over. I could no longer fight it. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to dance. And as if on cue, the DJ began to play something slow and sensual. I lost track of reality. In my mind, I was dancing in the night, in the streets of Paris or across the sands of Arabia. I was slightly aware of Kaleb watching me. He felt like a king, and I, his harem girl, dancing for his pleasure. He sat on his bed and watched me move through lowered lids. I can tell he liked what he saw because of the hungry look on his face. Funny, his look didn't repulse me like it should. No, quite the opposite. It made me feel good, sexy, empowered. I went up on my toes and I came down in a simple balance, which is a rocking sequence of 3 steps. "You're a ballerina," he stated quietly, as if he was speaking to himself. I stopped dancing and I looked at him. "You don't know me." I laughed. "I'm the Phantom of the Opera." One of his eyebrows lifted. "The opera?" he asked, his deep voice washing over my body, causing everything within me to want something I have never wanted before. Well, at least not like this. "And where's this opera?" I opened my arms wide. "Here." His gaze lowered to my stomach and probably the underside of my breast that I was revealing with my raised arms. He licked his lips, watching me like a wolf watched a small deer. I snatched my arms down and laughed at him. "You look hungry," I told him. Slowly he nodded. "I am, baby. I want to taste you so bad it's taking everything within me to keep my hands to myself right now." I closed my eyes as pure, uncut pleasure shot through me at his words. "How old are you?" he asked. I opened my eyes and looked at him. 18. "Damn, you're young," he said, looking miserable. I giggled. "How old are you?" 29. I'll be 30 in a few months. I shrugged my bare shoulder. Why does my age upset you? He shook his head. I don't mess with young women. You see, young women get attached because I make them feel something they have never felt before. Next thing you know, they in love and don't know how to go home when it's time. I lifted one side of my mouth in a grin. Baby, you ain't never got to worry about me falling in love with you. And as for going home, that sounds like a great idea. I'll just let myself out. I turned to head for the door. Damn, that was easy. I had only gone a few steps before I found myself lifted off my feet and into a pair of strong arms. My startled breath whooshed out of my body. I looked at him in shock. He smiled at me. I said, "You a sassy young lady. What's your name?" he asked, carrying back to his bed. I was so befuddled by suddenly being in his arms that I opened my mouth and uttered the truth. Monica. I closed my eyes as soon as my name escaped my lips. Damn it. Well, Monica, if I don't have to worry about you falling in love, then I want that taste. When he got to the bed, he tossed me in it. I giggled, trying to fight my way out of the plush blanket. But before I could, he was on the bed. He wedged his big body between my legs and was holding himself up over me with one hand. His other hand was coming towards my face. I lay there paralyzed. I know I should be stopping him. My mind said I should. But my body wanted to know how it felt to be touched by a man. And I ain't gonna lie, the fact that this powerful man was looking at me like that, like I was something he craved. He lifted a finger to my lips and gently rubbed across my bottom lip. So soft, he whispered. Can I taste you? Say no, say no. I slowly nodded. What am I doing? I thought, as he slowly lowered his head. When his lips first touched mine, it felt like electricity. I inhaled. He lifted his head, looking down at me. I touched my lips with fingers that shook as I stared up into his searching eyes. He had felt it too. His eyes fell on my lips, and he lowered his head again, but this time when he took my mouth, he ravished. Oh goodness, he was so hungry. I clutched his shirt with my fist, trying to hold on for dear life. You taste so good, so sweet, he said low in my ear before his mouth was on my neck. His big palm lay flat against my belly, feeling each quiver he caused to go off there. Slowly his hand lifted, and with it my shirt. He brought his lips away from mine and looked down at my flesh he had just exposed. He moaned. Beautiful, baby, he said, before he slowly lowered his head. Oh, you know what? Okay, you know what? So, I'm going to do a little editing at this point. But, for the sake of my story, I'm going to fill you in on a few more details. At one point, at that very moment he made me a woman, a look of utter surprise crossed his face when I screamed out in pain. "You're a virgin?" he whispered. His surprise turned into confusion. His confusion turned into a look of utter possession. "You're a virgin?" he whispered in my ear as he slowed down and then very gently continued to awaken my body in a way that will forever ruin me to the touch of any other man. Now, I want to say that after we finished, I felt shame, got my clothes, and left. But then I would be lying. See, the fact is, we made love 2 more times before we both just passed out in an exhausted sleep. When I woke up, I was in bed alone. I sat up and I looked around the dark room confused. Where was I? For a moment, I was completely lost. And then the last few hours came back to me. And yes, for the 4th time that night, I felt as if I was going to be ill. I scrambled out of the bed What have I done? I whispered as I quietly put my clothes back on. Oh man, this was not good. This was not good. I stopped when I looked down at the condom wrapper on the floor. One wrapper. My hand flew to my mouth. Oh goodness, one wrapper. The last 2 times we made love had been unprotected. No. Okay, get it together, Mom. You need to get out of here, alive. Yes, that's what I needed to do. I had to get out of here. Now was not the time to think of anything else outside of getting my revenge for Man and getting out of here with my life. I had to see this through. I had already botched it something terrible, and I had to move quick before the bastard came back. I eased the bedroom door open and listening. It was quiet. It sounded as if the party had died down. Okay, you can do this. I took a deep breath, then walked out of the doors and down the long hallway. I didn't even look at the men that were still in the opening before the stairs. I just quickly made my way down them. There were only a few stragglers still here. Kaleb stood with his back to me out in the pool area talking to a few guys. What a bastard. He was probably telling them he was ready for me to be out of his bed. I almost laughed out loud. You ain't got to worry about me, mister. After today, you ain't gonna never see me again. I made my way back to the parlor. I could see that my bag was still under the chair I sat in earlier. Quickly, I pulled it out and carried it across the room to a closet that I had scattered out earlier and figured this would be the perfect place for the cops to find the dope. With hands that shook, I took out the drugs and stashed them on the top shelf. And then, without looking back, I slipped out the front door. An hour later, I stood outside with the small crowd that was forming, watching as the police came out with a handcuffed Kaleb as well as a few others. Unfortunately, not Rashid. But I was fine with that, because like Bob Marley said, I shot the sheriff. I don't need to shoot the deputy. I pulled out one of Man's Cuban cigars, his prized possessions that he had more than likely stolen. And as the police car that carried Kaleb rolled past me, I lit it and put it to my lips. When his angry eyes connected with mine, I winked at him with a smirk on my face. Got you, bastards.